And as always, oh yes, we'll be recording. So we'll just hit the yes button there, and we'll keep the mics off until the chat function at the end. And during the seminar, you're welcome to post questions in the chat box or to ask them directly at the end of the seminar. So a few words of introduction, Peng, before you get started. You've got some slides that you'd like to share, I'm sure, in a moment. But let me just say a few words of welcome to you. I'm greatly honoured that today's speaker is our eminent colleague, Professor Peng Gong, who is Vice President Academic Development at the University of Hong Kong. Peng's a geographer who trained in China and Canada, gaining his PhD in 1990 from the University of Waterloo. In 1994, he moved to UC Berkeley, where he rapidly rose to the rank of full professor in, I think, just 7 years, Peng, quite remarkable. And he was based at Berkeley for more than 20 years. In 2016, he moved to Beijing as the founding chair of Earth System Science at Tsinghua University, where he became the Dean of Science the following year. Peng was the founding editor-in-chief of the journal Annals of GIS. He co-chairs the Lancet Countdown on Health and Climate Change, and I was delighted to meet him through that countdown process and through the Lancet Planetary Health Commissioner. And Peng is also a member of the Earth Commission, which some of you would know is charged with developing science strategies for the achievement of the SDGs. As an interdisciplinary researcher, still very active, Peng's research is on the use of remote sensing and GIS technology to map and monitor global environmental change, including urbanization and other land use changes. His current work includes modeling environmentally related infectious diseases and understanding the nexus between urbanization and human health and well-being. The topic for Peng's seminar today is global environmental change and planetary health. So over to you, Peng.
Well, thank you very much, Tony, for the introduction. And as a old friend, I really appreciate this opportunity. I have to apologize that I wasn't able to really do a lot of intensive communication with colleagues here, and Becky would be really disappointing about trying to engage me, but I wasn't able to very quickly responding. So let me see if I can share my screen.
Excellent.
Is everyone able to see this slide?
Yeah, yes, we can see it, and we can see that you're just going to put it into.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Excellent.
So I'll try to use. Normally, I'm not very efficient in running through a talk, but today I actually have a sharp 11 o'clock. I have to leave us from this meeting, so I'll try to be quick and. Sorry for being shallow. So today is actually the 52nd birthday, so let's celebrate it. But also, colleagues, yesterday, one of my close colleagues, Professor Arthur Cracknell from University of Dundee, passed away. You can see that he enjoyed 80 years of age, for about 40 years serving as the editor-in-chief of International Journal for Remote Sensing. So the remote sensing community is very sad to see his pass away, and I want to bring the memory to this audience. For those of you who are curious about what a great person that Professor Arthur Cracknell is, that you could look from the following activities, I'm sure quite some from University of Dundee about him. So I'll start from here that in PNAS in 2018, there was a paper publishing basically looking at the temperature change in the past 65 million years, just about the time that when the dinosaurs disappeared. You can see that the Earth is, if we look at, can you see my cursor here?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this, if we look at this period, basically this is just about Anthropocene period here, and no, Holocene period for the past 12,000 years. We are really enjoying a very comfortable temperature range because in the past it could be 10 to 15 degrees higher or sometimes 6 to 7 degrees lower for the whole world. So during this short period of time, that's how we Homo sapiens has become flourished and established on Mother Earth. And up to now, we are facing with lots of choice of climate change. So this is the best window for human development. So Mother Earth actually provides us all sorts of ecosystem services. This is from a joint publication. Actually, Selena has helped a lot as an editor of Lancet, and Tony has been a co-author on this paper. So here you can see that humans depends on nature in many ways. You know, they provide us food, fresh water, wood and fiber, fuel, and medicines, you know, traditional medicines. And they also have other services like regulating the climate and regulating flood, regulating disease, regulating water, a series of regulation services. And also it brings a beauty to our life and help us to establish mental and spiritual health and support not only human, but also the habitat for all the animals and lives on Earth. So, but I have, since we entered into during that past 12,000 years, particularly during the past 2,000 years, you know, we Homo sapien experiencing a civilization. So due to progress of technology and culture. So we evolved from hunter-gatherers, which we call, we are natural human, entering into agricultural, industrialization, urbanization, informationalization. This is something I added. I don't know whether or not it's right, but you know, you all know what I mean. And also we constantly entering into automated intelligence. But I put a wisdom there. So that is, you know, Homo sapien has been evolving depending on generations of wisdom. But the automated intelligence still hasn't matched human wisdom yet. So anyway, we are dominating nature. Today, we see the setback of civilization. During this past several thousand years, we've been from the hunter and gatherer stage, human population has been increasing and we are dispersing from Africa to everywhere. But then urbanization and industrialization brings us together, so we're aggregating. So I think in the next stage, we're going to disperse again, particularly thanks to the automation information technology. So in Chinese, there's a saying, what is nature? We call Tian. And then what is human? We call Ren. But then there's also Shen, which is God. So I think that our human civilization is going through natural, being natural, heaven, to human, to God in this process. thanks to our hard working on technology development. So in 2,000, 3,000 years ago, Zhuangzi has, in one of his articles, asked the question, what is heaven? What is human? So he answered by himself in his article, Autumn Water, being natural is heaven. Domestication of animals and nature is human. So, but today, we try to become God. We want to know everything. We could use all sorts of sensors and technology and try to put the monitors and monitor everything, and using intelligence, trying to measure, understand everything. So we are moving toward being a God, what we described. During the past 500 years, the human life expectancy, as we can see, that we've been, for a large period of time, of 350 years, the average life expectancy is about 40 years of age or below. So, but after that, since the industrialization, many different countries and the world's average has been increasing. Up to now, quite a number of countries, including Australia, I think, are beyond or near 80 years of age. So this line shows different parts of the world are quickly improving our life expectancy. So this is about now, but if we look at in 1950, there are still, many countries are still below 40 years of age. And also we suffer from different type of disasters. The reason that we look at our civilization has been built onto our quickly spreading on Earth. And this is something from Columbia University that they're saying that's a footprint of human being. So we can see that for a majority of the world's land surface, that we are basically getting to every corner that is livable. So Homo sapiens controls the world basically now. If we do a comparison, what is nature and what is human, we can see that compare wolf against dog, everybody can read the numbers. Compare lions against cats. Compare wild buffaloes against cows. Compare the penguins and with chicken. And wildlife reduction or extinction has been really serious in the past 50 years. And for about 30 years, almost 400 million birds the bird population has declined significantly. Say while we are on our way to become God, we actually are making a huge use or making Mother Earth sacrificing a lot. So here, as our human population increases and our demand become higher on the global environment, we can see there are a series of environmental change and ecosystem impairment. Climate change, stratospheric ozone depletion, forest clearance and land cover change, land degradation, wetland loss and damage, biodiversity loss, freshwater depletion, and urbanization and its effects. This, and also our damage to coastal reefs and ecosystems. So then they further would have health effects. So on the right-hand side, basically we gave some examples on the different health effects we have to bear. So when we come back to the earlier figure, while we are enjoying population increase, human dispersal, civilization development, but Mother Nature has been suffering, and we are suffering from our own consequence, waves after waves of infectious disease. They did not stop our pace of civilization. Will future ones destroy us? So this is a question that people has been asking all the time. So in the past 10 years, one prominent issue is in the health community that we are asking is, what is the climate change, the impact of climate change to human health? So in 2015 in Lancet, there's a paper published on climate change and health. And since then, every year there's a track of the world's progress on mitigation and adaptation to climate change, and how does that impact human health. So this is a systematic chart on greenhouse gas emission and its influence or impact to natural environment and the climate, and causing climate change, and then the consequences to food and to human, eventually to human health. So everybody will feel that the elegance of human civilization, the moral value that has been held by people, great authors in the past, describing those noble spirits of humankind. Now today in today's society, that we feel that we almost are stopping, and we're actually have a deteriorating civilization. So in 2005, in the world, people are attributing to our civilization the damage to civilization, or individual, regional civilization, local civilization, to these 5 factors. One, the first one is environmental change. Second one is climate change. Then there are other human societal issues. Is how do we respond to change? How do we, whether or not we can continue or sustain trading, and whether or not we are, due to all sorts of competition or due to natural limit constraints, people are fighting for resources. And today we fight for more things. So if we look at the whole world, this is what we try to paint our disasters related to health. All of this in different parts of the world have different type of characteristics and geographical issues that eventually will affect human well-being. So we must work together, like we are sailing in the same boat. In order to go to the right direction, we have to unite and unify our opinions and join force toward the same direction. So in 2009, 2015, that Johan Rockström and Will Stephen, they put forward a term called planetary boundaries, or how do we maintain in a safer space, the inner circle, on various kind of environmental conditions. So one of them is climate change. So it looks like that this is a transitional zone. This is a dangerous zone, the outer space. You can see that genetic diversity is suffering, is already passing the threshold or the zone. And the nitrogen nutrification that we use for agricultural purposes are actually severely affecting the biogeochemical flows. So these are the things that we already passed the safe zone and in a dangerous situation. However, those are just global estimates. Actually, we need to look at local situations for the whole world. For example, in 2019, we published a paper about China. Starting from 1960s, we're mostly using livestock manure and also human manure to fertilize agricultural activities. But later, gradually, we start to use fertilizers. And you can see there's a safe zone. By year about 1985, China has already exceeded the safe boundary for nitrogen or nutrient. So the consequence is serious. So in different years of China, different provinces are having, surpassing this particular threshold that we can't really allow for more than that. So the consequence, one of the consequences actually is the ecosystem collapse in the water, in fresh water and also in the coastal water. For example, this is in China, in Fujian, due to red tide. Fishermen are suffering, dead fishes all the time, from time to time. So this year we published, thanks to Tony for the introduction about the Earth Commission. So the Earth Commission group worked together, published a paper trying to say that let's operate. Mother Earth is at this particular location. Holocene is in this particular path. We follow this path, come to this stage at present from the past, and we're maneuvering Mother Earth into an uncertain future. We don't want to go to the unsafe future. We hope that we are still able to eventually go to a safe and just planet. That requires all of our efforts. So if we look at technology, we can say there are 4 ages of technology, and every age of technology has accompanied it with health problems. So on the right, these are some major events of health problems. So in 1959, René Dubos talked about, in a small book he published on Mirage of Health, he mentioned about no matter what type of technological innovation, be it industrial, agricultural, or medical, all disturb natural balance and cause infectious disease. So indeed, he mentioned about some, and some that are yet to come in, including what we are suffering today, are indeed the case. So that's also why the whole world are trying to work hard to define. We really need to treat the natural system and human society as a whole one system. And we want to keep Mother Earth to be healthy. So we have to have a field about the planetary health. So Richard Houghton made a definition. Basically, planetary health is the health of human civilization and the state of natural systems on which it depends. So we need to work on this from the individual, institutional, and governmental level. We need to cooperate, not only to be good for ourselves, we also need to work together, join hand to solve the problem, to keep planetary health on the right track. So individual, I don't need to mention. We're thinking about how to live in green and how to reduce carbon emission and how to live healthily to keep our own personal hygiene condition. So of course, different people having different economic conditions may have different solutions to keep our health. So that's where the whole human society could help each other to keep the world equal, more equal, toward equal. But today we are obviously not really achieving that goal. So anyway, companies are also having a big role to play. This is an example that Walmart in 2018 announced their goal to reduce emission in their own store, but also in their supply chain, try to influence them. And United States comes up and down. Sometimes they, for a certain period of time of different government, they will be becoming more active to addressing some of the major issues we are facing. Sometimes they are not. but we need to utilize the positive times to make bigger progress. But I have to say that in United States, we can't really just rely on just the government, just like in just about anywhere, that we need to rely on the people. In California, for example, in many states in California, the state level, that they are all very conscious, trying to protect the environment and also trying to mitigate climate change effects. It's a constant tone, not like the federal government. So coming back to that, I need to share with colleagues a little bit about what I do for my research. So one aspect of my research is to monitor environmental surface environmental change. The most direct ones are land cover and land use. More specifically, you could see there are some thematical categories such as wetland, water, cropland, and cities. So if we put all of these together to look at the 17 goals of the United Nations post-25 sustainable development, you will find that 13 of them are actually, which I put the blue box around, they have something to do with land cover and land use. So it's important for us to work on this to monitor the change of land cover and land use. As an example, this is what I call global artificial impervious area. So Gaia is for that, standing for that. So we basically map settlement expansion from 1985 to 2018. Now we are basically trying to keep it up to date. So now it's up to 2020. So if you look at these figures, here's Sydney, here's Singapore. The red figures are relatively fresh land conversion from relatively green space to be it agriculture or forest to urban. So that's for Singapore, and this is for Sydney. You can see for some of the cities, such as Tokyo, it's developed before 1985. So they are all about that age. But if you look at Shanghai, before 1985, it's only in a small area like here. But now, most of the reddish areas are the recent development. So does it like Beijing. So this figure basically shows have a tree ring or tracking the annual expansion of cities, or not only cities, but any human settlement at 30-meter resolution. So colleagues recently, in the past a year and a half, we made some effort to process using cloud computing to process the whole world's satellite data that are openly available. So if I use this example, that satellite data acquire images like such small blocks, a small scene like this, then they acquire in different years, different dates, at different time, that they acquire many of these images. So you can stack them together like this. So the whole world, due to cloud, due to other acquisition conditions or satellite overlapping, that some places have very few collections, some places have more. So this is basically the condition. One satellite, you get the raw data that you could do some processing to make them archived somewhere, so that people comes in and can take one image or a few images and try to make use of them. But they suffer from they're acquired in different dates, so it's very hard to use. So one effort we try to do is to transform this kind of data, process the whole world into evenly seamless data on a daily basis. So you can, from day one up to now, every day to have one image for the world. So with this kind of image, you can do all sorts of further information extraction from that, so that you can create land cover map, for example, land use map, urban, wetland, forest growth, all sorts of things can be produced from that. So we first made a map, what we call IMAP, for China. And recently we did something for the world. So starting from IMAP, published in Chinese journals, until now, we publish a paper in Remote Sensing Environment, International Journal, about the IMAP World product. What exactly it is? Satellite data, raw data, if you process them like this, you will have cloud, you will have all sorts of things that they are not continuous. So this is how, if you just do some geo-rectification to make the location right, then on different date, you have images like this. We call fragmented raw data cube. The data cube concept is actually coming out of Australia. So our Australian colleagues have the credit for that. But recently, what we did is to have a seamless data cube to produce on each day for a certain period of time. You can pull for the whole world one image at a consistent level. So that's basically one breakthrough that my group, my research group have been doing. So once you have this kind of data, then before people say, oh, every 5 years you can make a world map at high resolution, that will be great using satellite data. Now we can see we can make a map for the world on a daily basis. So here's an example. We do it for a seasonal basis for different land cover on Earth. For 20, 35 years period, you could have seasonal changes of different land cover. You can imagine forest leaves, decidual trees come and go in each year, so the green space will vary. So this basically reflects that. So on a seasonal basis of the surface cover. You might say that these are not so useful for some of the applications, but there are also, so for people who need annual or every several years data once for an application. But for other application, you need it. What about you track birds? You want to know birds surrounding. What about in the global climate change model that you need the surface condition? So you need more frequent data, so we are able to produce this kind of data. So when we look at the whole world from 1985 to 2020, look at forest land that are declining. Look at some urban areas that they're increasing. Look at some cropland, they're increasing. So you can actually track land cover change of different themes. You can actually look at every continent, every country, or any area that we're interested to look at their trends. They're going to be different in different parts of the world. How detailed the data can be. So the local change dynamics, for example, in some of the forested areas in 1985, gradually being reclaimed into agricultural land, you can see in different time, every 5-year or 10-year period, that's how much change that is going. So the top is image, bottom is classification data. So here's another example, basically in the interface of forest and also agricultural or grassland area. Here's agricultural land and urban land, in different times that urbanization is happening rapidly. So from this kind of data, we can basically acquire information about land dynamics. We moved from 2D to 3D. We now can estimate the height of cities. So some people are curious about so much steel, so much cement has been produced in the world. Where have they been used? So we can look at in different cities or different part of the world that their increment of development. So this is an example that you could extract city height from satellite data and try to look at more quantitatively how much construction materials we piled in different parts of the world. So I'm just about to wrap up. trying to show colleagues that we face with global problems. We're also trying to do from different levels of making efforts to combat the challenges we have, but they eventually backfire to human health and also human civilization. And what are the gaps? There are lots of efforts. There are also lots of gaps. To me, I think that linking the humanity field with the natural or physical science and trying to become more quantitative is a big gap. So planetary health need better predictive tools. So linking health modelers to build planetary health models. So here in this particular example that you see, we model Earth's climate, surface conditions, but we also want to model social economic conditions and also, disease transmission. So this is something that we are still working on. So in a sense, we must adopt a new research paradigm for building planetary health to solve global problems. But there are challenges. We're not certain about the impacts of joint interactions of multiple environmental changes and how do they affect human health. We also need to understand planetary health, but we need better data and quantitative tools, as we explained earlier. And we also need to provide planning and decision support tools to those people who don't have the knowledge and who don't have these tools. We don't want to duplicate mistakes from one part of the world and to the other parts of the world. Let's hope not. So today, basically, I try to give a talk, very general, superficial, try to touch upon issues that we start human, we grow out of nature, totally rely on nature. But today, Elon Musk is trying to call, and lots of scientists and engineers are trying to make us detach and disperse, and even try to make human escape from Mother Earth to Mars or to other planets. So technology on one side is helping us to improve or protect us from diseases and also improve our life expectancy. But for the short period of time, we also do not want to suffer from the consequences due to our, we need to balance both technology and also our environment. We don't want to make environment to keep being the one sacrificing for the other. So there are some concepts we touched upon, but eventually we want to build the field of planetary health. We need the effort from individual to the entire society, entire system, and to try to use quantitative tools to address, using systems approach to address our complex system problems. And we also need policies that are based on solid evidence. So that's basically what I try to talk today. I'm sorry that I didn't make it so consistent, but these are the people that I wish to thank, and I use part of their thought and the material in this particular presentation. Thank you very much for your for listening.
Well, thanks, Peng. That was a masterful presentation, and really the way that you ranged from ecology through geography to human health and philosophy was really very impressive. I can't remember the last time that I was at a seminar where somebody was talking about God in a sensible way. So well done. I very much enjoyed that. Now we have got a number of questions. We've got some hands up. I can see Selena's got her hand up, and then Yu Ming. So perhaps, Selena, would you like to go first?
Hi. Hi, Peng. Tony, thank you so much. I don't know if you can hear me so well. It's a bit noisy here.
There's a bit of background noise, but
yeah.
we can hear you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. It's really nice to see you. Happy Earth Day. I have a question on the way that we're approaching planetary health globally in terms of research at the moment. And you and also Tony and others always describe it as a systems approach, which I totally agree on. But the definition in itself is also, as you know, health of human civilization. And somehow quantitative science can't answer what is a healthy human civilization. And I'm interested to ask you a question on this because I know that you're also looking at eco-civilization in China. As the years go on, it seems increasingly important to look at indigenous knowledge and wisdom in order to guide us towards a value system that would set the foundation for us to build these systems, because at an individual level, it is about the individual level and our values in terms of how we act and what we consume. And my question is, in your work in China and in the East, how does the teachings of Tao contribute? And do you think that this is why in China it can actually change quite quickly, the governance aside? I don't know if that's clear. Just what lessons does Tao have to teach us about planetary?
What lesson
thanks,
about?
Selena. We might ask you, Selena, could you turn your mic back off? Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks. Cheers. So over to you, Peng. Yeah.
Selena, are you talking about Taoism? So you're talking about Taoism? Huh? Okay.
Yeah, yes, she is.
Yes.
Yeah. So you know, I have to say that today, when I introduce to foreign students, I would say the modern Chinese is already not traditional Chinese. Traditional Chinese, if you observe, you may still be able to observe from some Taiwanese or from some people from Hong Kong. No, there are some people who, particularly in Taiwan, that what we call the Chinese studies. You know what I mean? It's called 国学, that they are somehow more inherited. I think in the Chinese education currently, we traditional Chinese philosophy and are only practiced by a very small group of people. You know, they read, try to understand, and of course, you have to look at this in two aspects. Cultural revolution has destroyed the Chinese, disrupted the Chinese in mainland China, study and trying to inherit some of the spirit of traditional Chinese wisdom. Taoism is certainly one wisdom that could help guide people toward more sustainable way of living, thrifty, and also saving materials, going more toward spiritual things, thinking, and also living in a simpler way. So that actually Taoism right now is getting more people are trying to explain in off school, not really in the school curriculum, that there are a lot of those kind of traditional Chinese philosophy. I think Confucius has been taught in classes a little more than Taoism, because it really requires more, for young people, it's harder for them to develop an appreciation. So to keep it short, that Taoism is helpful, and there are traditional ecological and living wisdom that are helpful for people to observe his or her own behavior, but it's not that popular in mainland China. It's not being taught very widely, so it's only stays in a circle of intellectuals. But on the other hand, the Chinese culture is deeply influenced by Confucians and also Taoism. So it's more or less in our blood or in our way of in life, we are somehow influenced by that. Even though today we are looking outward, try to be westernized, try to consume a lot, try to borrow for the future. But there are certainly in our culture, there are some parts that are making a contribution, making Chinese people more easier to understand, to live in a simple way and live in a thrifting way.
Thank you very much, Selena and Peng. And now I think our next question is from Yuming Go in the School of Public Health.
Hi, Professor Gong. Very nice to meet you, and thank you for giving very interesting topic. I'm Yuming Go from Monash School of Public Health and Preventive Medicine. My research is focusing on climate change and air pollution. And currently, I'm leading 20 staff and PhD students to analyze the data for climate change, air pollution, and human health. And I also working with Tony, and we will develop an Asia-Pacific network for the climate change and human health, which is supported by Australia National Health and Medical Research Council. My question is in the last maybe 5 days ago, US and China just released a joint statement for climate change. I think that should be a benefit for planetary health or climate change, and also that should be challenges. So my question is, what is your perspective on this statement to the application for the planetary health area? Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Well, basically today, it's a little bit a big problem. If we have to go by, item by item, there's two approach to look at this U.S. and China collaboration. They're meeting in Shanghai and had made an announcement on joint hands to address climate change issues. And so I think as scholars like you and me, first of all, I know of your work, and although I didn't really meet you in person, but I hear from colleagues talking about your work and also read your works. And congratulations to your collaboration with Tony, with this particular group. And I hope that your Asian Pacific network will be expanded so that we could have, all the countries surrounding the Pacific Ocean, or even, to your west, Indian Ocean, we could do a lot bigger as a network. I truly believe distributed scholarship, now crowdsourcing is a very powerful tool for us to advance science. So keep on going, doing, this good work. But US and China, I think there are only a few areas that right now that we are a little bit more or less in agreement. Climate change is one, and health is another one. Even during the past, starting from 2018, the fierce, trading war and all sorts of, technological difficulties, that the dialogue between the US government and China on health has been open. So every year we actually hold a track B. I'm on that membership for the Chinese team. We work with the US to discuss about, health collaboration, maintain a tie. So climate change, we certainly welcome the the agreement, or the joint announcement. To me, I think there are a lot that we can do. Certainly, COVID-19, pandemics, climate change, the double stress on human society and on human health is a big aspect that we could explore together, and now taking advantage of this particular situation. Secondly, to me, I'd like to look at air pollution. I mean, I like to look at water pollution and also land cover and land use change, the environmental aspect, particularly, to look at where and how we could increase the nature-based solution to address the climate change issues or challenges. So it just gave us reason for scientists to collaborate, which I am very happy about. I mean, there are other issues that we could go item by item, but it's a good opening so that we can collaborate. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks very much, Yuming and Peng. And I'm keeping an eye on the time, Peng, because I know you do have to step back for another meeting that commences in just 6 minutes. So maybe if we can just take an opportunity for one more question from our colleague Mitzi Bolton, who isn't able to ask the question directly because she's got a really bad upper respiratory infection today. But Peng, Mitzi asks, how can we support the broader population to recognize the importance of valuing planetary health and to be as interested in monitoring and improving it as they are in monitoring GDP, gross domestic product, or monitoring their personal wealth in their bank accounts, or monitoring the COVID-19 infection rates? How can we support and engage the community in that?
Well, Tony, you probably could answer this question better than me. If you remember in our meeting, in the Western Pacific meeting, I actually suggested that we should do a joint, multinational collaboration on monitoring or tracking climate change and monitoring progresses, and also try to see how they are related to health. So talking about valuing planetary health, different countries, fortunately, yes, the level of awareness or consciousness about planetary health, indeed, right now, the richer countries there are more people who worry about it. Even though I'm sure Mitzi is trying to urge us to even make it more widely accessible and bring a bigger awareness among people. But for the relatively economically backward countries, that they don't really cause as much, problem, or contribute to the problems of today's planetary health challenges. So we definitely should start from the rich countries and also from emerging economies, such as China. That education is a way to do. Media, communication are all the ways that we should do it. Maybe some of the philanthropists that they should be giving also more contribution or donation to support this kind of work. We intellectuals not only need to work on the technological side, trying to take advantage of technological advancement to better monitor using various kind of sensors to track the environmental and societal health or well-being issues. But also we need to engage more people to teach, to share the knowledge to the society, make the awareness as wide as possible. I think that's where we could get started for that. Of course, good stories is always necessary. You know, like it's easy to say who earned money, you know, by which way. Everybody want to accumulate wealth, but health is also important. It's easy to make people to be, you know, alerted, you know, for if we can make the story good enough. That's my response to Mithi's question.
Thank you very much, Peng. And I can see Mitzi has made a little note in the chat box there. So I think we need to draw this seminar to a close on behalf of all of us here at Monash. Thank you very much, Peng, for a wonderful seminar and great discussion. And we're very much looking forward to having you with us in a few weeks' time for the 5-year academic review of our institute, and we'll look forward to exchanging with you more then, and hopefully finding and exploring some of those specific opportunities for collaboration. So if everybody else would just like to hold on for one more moment, but we'll let Peng go now. Thanks very much. Yeah.
Goodbye.
Take care. Bye-bye. And thank you.